From sweet delights to savory delicacies, the 80s did not have a shortage of amazing meals to dish out at potlucks and parties. Today, we'll be looking at 25 of the most classic treats of that era. Join us as we dive in. One C3POS.
Of a new force at breakfast.
We'll call them C3POs.
New C3PO cereal from Kellogg's.
Kellogg's introduced C3PO cereal in 1984, hoping to capitalize on the massive surge of the Star Wars fandom. This honey-sweetened cereal, shaped like small figure eights that looked like the head of the famous protocol droid, was advertised as a breakfast adventure for kids who wanted to be a part of the epic space battles. C3POs were introduced shortly after Return of the Jedi reached theaters, and they came in a golden box displaying the iconic character, aiming to catch the attention of young Jedi wannabes. The cereal's flavor was similar to Cheerios, but with a sweeter twist, making it popular among children. Unfortunately, despite the brand's association with the mega-successful film franchise, C3PO's cereal lasted only a couple of years before fading into obscurity. The hype around Star Wars merchandise could only carry it so far, and Kellogg's eventually discontinued it due to declining sales. Still, for those who had a bowl or two back in the day, the cereal remains a fond memory of Saturday mornings spent with a spoon in hand and dreams of space adventures in mind. The next item on our list takes us back to lunchboxes and convenience foods that defined the 80s. 2. Hostess pudding pies.
Is that my Hostess pudding pie?
I brought my own.
That's a switch.
Hey, chocolate-flavored pudding.
Yeah, it's new.
Hostess pudding pies were first released in the 80s as part of the company's ever-growing range of snack cakes and pies. Unlike regular fruit pies, these had creamy vanilla or chocolate pudding wrapped in a delicate, flaky crust, making them a unique snack at the time. Individually wrapped, the pies quickly became a favorite with both children and adults, particularly as a lunchbox treat or after-school snack. The creamy filling mixed with the sugary crust made them decadent and satisfying for anybody with a sweet tooth. The pies were a deviation from the regular Hostess options, which included their signature Twinkies, ding-dongs, and ho-hos. While these pudding pies were a beloved staple throughout the 80s, they eventually disappeared from store shelves by the early 90s. Hostess's focus shifted to its core products, and many niche items like the pudding pies were quietly phased out. Even so, they are fondly remembered by many who grew up with them as a lunchbox staple. Our next item quenched the thirst of millions during the 80s with its bold flavors. 3. Slice soda.
Introducing a new soft drink with 10% real juice. New Slice.
Introduced by PepsiCo in 1984, Slice was a line of fruit-flavored soft drinks designed to compete with Coca-Cola's Fanta and other fruit sodas on the market. What set Slice apart was that it was one of the first sodas to advertise itself as containing real fruit juice, around 10%, which was a big deal in the health-conscious 80s. Slice came in a variety of flavors, with orange and lemon lime being the most popular. There were also other variants like apple, cherry, and grape, which were great for adventurous soda drinkers. Slice enjoyed a successful run throughout the 80s, riding high on its unique positioning as a healthier soda option, even though it was still loaded with sugar. However, by the mid-90s, the brand struggled to maintain relevance as other competitors emerged, and eventually, PepsiCo discontinued the original Slice in 2000. While Slice may be gone, it is often remembered for its bright, fruity taste that stood out in an era of cola dominance. Now, let's dive into something a bit more sophisticated: the unexpected rise of our next dish in the 80s gourmet food scene. 4. Sun-dried tomatoes.
Add a tasty elegance to pasta salad with French's Gourmet sun-dried tomato.
Sun-dried tomatoes became a culinary trend during the 80s as American tastes began to expand toward more gourmet flavors. Originating from the Mediterranean, sun-dried tomatoes had been used for centuries in traditional Italian cuisine. However, their popularity in the United States surged during the 80s as part of the increasing interest in artisanal and gourmet foods. They were often used in pasta dishes, salads, and as toppings for pizzas, adding a burst of flavor that was both tangy and sweet. Packaged either in oil or dry, sun-dried tomatoes became a staple in upscale restaurants and at-home cooking alike. The trend was an indication of the 80s shift toward fancier dining experiences, with Americans becoming more open to experimenting with international ingredients. Sun-dried tomatoes were praised for their versatility and long shelf life, making them a pantry staple. While their popularity peaked in the late 80s and early 90s, they are still used today, though less prominently, in modern dishes. Let's shift gears to a more British-inspired treat that brought fish and chips right into the comfort of home. 5. Burton's Fish and Chips. Burton's Fish and Chips were a savory snack that first launched in the UK in the late 70s and quickly garnered a loyal following in the 80s. Created by Burton's Biscuits, these crispy nibbles, shaped like fish and chips, were available in different flavors, including salt and vinegar, to replicate the traditional British fish and chips. The snack was especially popular among children, and it was typically packed into school lunches or enjoyed during after-school TV time. What set Burton's Fish and Chips apart was the snack's texture and strong flavors, which offered a more savory option compared to the sweeter snacks typically marketed to kids. Though it was primarily a UK favorite, it made its way across the pond to the US in limited distribution, where it gathered a cult following. Unfortunately, much like many snacks of the 80s, Burton's Fish and Chips eventually disappeared from shelves as tastes changed, and the snack food market became more competitive. Our next item brought an innovative twist to a beloved breakfast staple: 6 crispy pancakes.
What, Daddy? While I got the Findus crispy pancakes, Dad put on the peas.
If you grew up in the UK during the 80s, chances are you had a box of Findus crispy pancakes in your freezer. These frozen, pre-made pancakes were filled with savory fillings such as minced beef, ham and cheese, or even chicken curry. The outer layer was breaded and fried, giving them their signature crispiness. Crispy pancakes were marketed as a quick and convenient meal for busy households, and they became a favorite among children for their crunchy exterior and gooey interior. While they were popular in Britain, they gained a bit of a cult following in the United States as well, especially for those looking for easy-to-make, comforting foods. However, as convenience foods evolved and expectations for frozen meals grew, crispy pancakes started to fall out of favor. By the late 90s, they had all but disappeared, though Findus did bring them back briefly in recent years due to popular demand. We now transition to a more educational side of frozen foods with this next treat, which made learning fun while eating. 7 Alpha Bites.
A is for alpha, B is for bites. See for yourself that they taste just right. D is for dinner, E is for eggs.
Alpha Bites, introduced in the early 80s by Birdseye, combined the concept of learning with mealtime fun. These potato-based bites were shaped like letters of the alphabet, allowing children to not only enjoy a tasty snack, but also practice their ABCs while eating. Alpha Bites were often served as a side dish during dinner or as part of an after-school meal. Their crunchy, golden texture and mild potato flavor made them a hit with kids and an easy choice for parents looking to add a playful element to mealtime. The marketing for Alpha Bites focused on the educational benefits, making them stand out in the frozen food aisle. However, much like many kid-focused products of the 80s, their popularity began to wane as new food trends and health-conscious attitudes took over. By the 2000s, Alpha Bites had all but vanished from most grocery stores, leaving behind memories of fun-filled meals. Our next item is a treat that made snack time a decadent affair: 8 Trio chocolate bars.
No three things are quite as good together as a trio.
Launched in 1985 by Jacobs, Trio chocolate bars were an irresistible combination of chocolate, caramel, and biscuit. Each bar featured a rich, chewy caramel center sandwiched between crunchy layers of biscuit, all covered in smooth milk chocolate. Trio was heavily marketed in the UK and became a favorite snack for kids and adults alike. The catchy jingle from its TV commercials, "Trio, Trio, I want a Trio and I want one now," became synonymous with the product, embedding it into the popular culture of the 80s. The indulgence of the Trio bar, with its layered textures and rich flavors, made it stand out in a crowded candy market. However, despite its popularity, Trio bars were discontinued in the 90s as other snacks and chocolate bars began to dominate. The nostalgia surrounding them is strong though, with some fans even petitioning for their return. We now shift our focus to a health-conscious meal trend that emerged in the 80s: 9 lean cuisine.
What I tell my friends is, I buy Stouffer's Lean Cuisine because it's always less than 300 calories.
Introduced in 1981 by Stouffer's, lean cuisine was the epitome of the diet-conscious 80s. As people became more aware of calorie intake and portion control, lean cuisine provided a convenient way to enjoy pre-portioned, low-calorie meals without sacrificing flavor. The brand offered a variety of frozen meals that were often marketed as a healthier alternative to traditional frozen dinners, which were often loaded with sodium and fat. Lean cuisine's offerings included options like chicken Alfredo, beef stroganoff, and other dishes that were indulgent but fit into a calorie-controlled diet. This focus on weight management tapped into the rising fitness culture of the 80s, with aerobics, jogging, and low-fat diets becoming the norm. Lean cuisine quickly became a household name and was a favorite among busy professionals and dieters looking for convenience without guilt. The brand's success in the 80s led to its continued presence on grocery shelves, although its formula and offerings have evolved to match changing dietary trends. Still, lean cuisine's introduction in the 80s marked a major shift in how Americans approached frozen meals, focusing on health without sacrificing flavor. We now turn to a curious and creative dessert trend that swept American kitchens in the 80s. 10 impossible pies.
There's nothing better to make with holiday leftovers than my best pot pies.
Impossible pies were a magical trend that captivated home bakers throughout the 80s. The name stems from the impossible nature of these pies because they seemed to defy baking logic. These pies, which could be savory or sweet, were made using a simple batter of Bisquick, eggs, and various fillings, and when baked, they would separate into distinct layers, a crust, a filling, and sometimes even a topping. Some popular varieties included the Impossible Cheeseburger Pie and Impossible Coconut Pie, with each version showcasing this culinary novelty. The appeal of Impossible Pies was their ease of preparation combined with the surprising results. They became a staple at potlucks, family gatherings, and weeknight dinners, as they required minimal effort but always delivered on taste. Bisquick was often the key ingredient, and its advertising during the 80s heavily promoted the versatility of these pies. Though the trend has somewhat faded, you can still find the recipes floating around online, and for many, they remain a beloved part of their culinary memories. Next is another staple of 80s dining which transformed how we enjoyed soups and stews during this period: 11 bread bowls. In the 80s, when bread bowls became a huge culinary trend, the way soups, stews, and even dips were served was completely transformed. The idea of hollowing out a circular loaf of bread and using it as a container was simple, yet brilliant. This not only provided a fun presentation, but also allowed diners to enjoy their soup or stew with a bit of bread, which soaked up all the delicious broth or sauce. Clam chowder in a bread bowl, particularly in coastal regions, became a favorite in restaurants and home kitchens alike. The rise of the bread bowl can be attributed to the increasing popularity of rustic and artisanal bread during the 80s. As more people embraced homemade and hearty cooking, the bread bowl became a staple at dinner parties and restaurants. Though bread bowls are still found today, their novelty is mostly worn off, and they are not nearly as common as they once were. Let us now take a look at a chocolate dessert that was the epitome of decadence and gourmet indulgence in the 80s. 12. Chocolate decadence. Chocolate decadence was the dessert of choice in the 80s for anyone looking to indulge in something rich, dense, and, well, decadent. This flourless chocolate cake, often made with a blend of dark and milk chocolates, became a symbol of gourmet dining. It was dense and fudgy, with an intensely rich flavor that earned it its name. The recipe typically involved ingredients like butter, eggs, and chocolate, melted and baked to perfection, creating a dessert that was both simple and luxurious. This dessert was frequently found on the menus of upscale restaurants throughout the decade, particularly as the American palate began to lean toward richer and more indulgent desserts. With the rise of food television and gourmet chefs like Julia Child, desserts like chocolate decadence were celebrated for their flavor and elegance. Though flourless chocolate cakes are still popular today, few desserts have matched the sheer opulence and trend-setting power of chocolate decadence in the 80s. Our next item is an iconic snack that brought a flavorful punch to every bite. 13 Cool Ranch Doritos.
Quiet! Nobody gets any Cool Ranch Doritos. Every scrap of paper on this floor is picked up.
They taste as good as they crunch.
Introduced in 1986, Cool Ranch Doritos took the snack world by storm and became an instant classic. Doritos had already been a household name with their original nacho cheese flavor, but Cool Ranch offered something completely different, a bold combination of tangy, creamy, and savory flavors that fans couldn't get enough of. The chips were dusted with a blend of spices and herbs that included garlic, onion, and hints of buttermilk, making them highly addictive. Cool Ranch Doritos quickly became a favorite among snack lovers, especially kids and teenagers, and were a staple at parties, picnics, and even movie nights. Their launch marked a significant shift in the snack industry, as the success of Cool Ranch paved the way for more adventurous and bold flavors in the years to come. To this day, Cool Ranch remains one of Doritos' most popular flavors, even though it was introduced almost 4 decades ago. We now move to a messy comfort food classic that reigned supreme in homes across America: 14 Sloppy Joes.
Think of it? Man, it's the sloppiest.
Sloppy Joes were a household favorite throughout the 80s, particularly for busy families looking for an easy and affordable dinner option. Ground beef cooked in a sweet and tangy tomato-based sauce and then spooned onto a hamburger bun, resulting in a messy yet satisfying meal. Sloppy Joes weren't new to the 80s, but their popularity surged during the decade, thanks in part to convenience foods like canned sauces, Manwich for example, that made it even easier to prepare. The origins of Sloppy Joes date back to the 1930s, but it wasn't until the mid-20th century that they became a staple of American cuisine. By the 80s, Sloppy Joes had become a go-to for weeknight dinners, school cafeterias, and even family gatherings. The dish's messy nature was part of its charm, and it was often paired with potato chips or tater tots for a complete comfort meal. Next is a snack that combined two beloved flavors, peanut butter and oats, to make one unique, indulgent treat. 15 peanut butter boppers.
Kraft peanut butter. Smooth or crunchy, but never dry or oily.
Peanut butter boppers, introduced by General Mills in the 80s, were a unique snack that combined the rich flavor of peanut butter with chewy oats and a coating of chocolate or granola. Marketed as a portable and wholesome treat, boppers were perfect for kids on the go or as a lunchbox staple. Each bopper was individually wrapped, making them convenient for snacking at school, on trips, or during playtime. The success of peanut butter boppers was largely due to their ability to find a perfect balance between being a healthy snack and an indulgent treat. The combination of oats, peanut butter, and the option for a chocolate coating made them appealing to both parents and children. Unfortunately, despite their popularity, peanut butter boppers were eventually discontinued as snack trends shifted in the late 80s and early 90s. However, they remain a nostalgic favorite for those who grew up enjoying their chewy, peanut buttery goodness. Next is a classic, long-lasting candy that surely tested patience and persistence. 16 Jawbreakers.
Learn it. Live it. Love it.
Jawbreaker.
Lady.
Jawbreakers, known for their rock-hard exterior and seemingly endless layers of sweet candy, were a staple in the candy world during the 80s. These candies, often sold in small, brightly colored packages, were a favorite among kids for their durability and long-lasting nature. Jawbreakers took their name quite literally, as it could take hours, sometimes even days, to finish one, and they were so hard that trying to bite into them could risk a chipped tooth. While Jawbreakers had been around for decades, they experienced a resurgence in popularity during the 80s, thanks to the candy boom of the decade. They were often found in candy stores, vending machines, and even in the prize sections of arcade games. Their origin traces back to 19th century Europe, but it was during the 80s that Jawbreakers became an iconic part of American candy culture. Nest Up is a multi-layered dip that became a party favorite and rose to fame during the decade. 17 7-layer dip.
I'm going to let you in on a secret recipe. The Erickson family 7-layer salad.
7-layer dip became a party staple in the 80s, offering an aesthetically pleasing and delicious appetizer that was perfect for gatherings, barbecues, and potlucks. As the name suggests, the dip featured 7 distinct layers: refried beans, sour cream, guacamole, salsa, shredded cheese, black olives, and chopped green onions. Each layer added a different texture and flavor, making it a crowd pleaser when served with tortilla chips. The dip is believed to have been inspired by traditional Mexican cuisine, with each layer reflecting the flavors of classic Tex-Mex dishes. However, it was the ease of preparation and the impressive presentation that made 7-layer dip a hit during the 80s. It could be prepared quickly, yet it looked and tasted like a complex dish. Today, while it's still a popular choice for parties, 7-layer dip is forever tied to its heyday in the 80s, when it became an important part of casual gatherings and game day celebrations. Let's now turn our attention to the surprising creation that took a breakfast cereal and transformed it into a savory treat. 18 Hot Buttered Cheerios.
I wanted to bring this recipe to you because some of you might not have ever heard of it, and it is hot buttered Cheerios.
Hot buttered Cheerios may sound like an unusual snack, but it became a quick favorite during the 80s. In essence, it was a simple recipe: classic Cheerios cereal toasted in a skillet with butter and seasoned with a sprinkle of salt or other spices. The result was a warm, crispy, and savory snack that could be made in minutes. The recipe appeared in ads from General Mills during the late 80s, encouraging people to rethink how they enjoyed their favorite breakfast cereal. This savory twist on a breakfast staple was a hit for its simplicity and versatility. Some people added garlic powder, cinnamon, or even Parmesan to elevate this basic recipe. Hot buttered Cheerios became a favorite after-school snack for kids, as well as a quick fix for adults craving something crunchy and flavorful. Though this snack has largely faded from the mainstream, it's still remembered fondly by those who grew up making it in the 80s. Next is a bite-sized innovation that brought pizza to a whole new level of convenience. 19 Bagel Bites.
You can eat pizza anytime. Pizza bagel.
Bagel Bites. Pizza whenever you want it.
Bagel Bites hit the frozen food market in 1985, forever changing the way people enjoyed pizza. Created by Stanley Garzinski and Bob Mosher, these bite-sized snacks featured mini bagels topped with pizza sauce, cheese, and various toppings like pepperoni or sausage. They quickly became a hit with kids and parents alike, offering a quick, easy, and delicious way to enjoy the flavors of pizza without the hassle of ordering delivery or making a full pizza at home. Bagel Bites were marketed as the ultimate after-school snack, but they also became a favorite for parties and casual get-togethers. The slogan, "Pizza in the morning, pizza in the evening, pizza at supper time," perfectly captured the all-day appeal of these versatile snacks. Today, Bagel Bites are still available, but their popularity in the 80s firmly cemented them as one of the decade's most iconic frozen snacks. Moving on, we'll explore another portable and convenient meal option that became an instant hit with busy parents. 20 Lunchables.
Lunchables, All-Star Burgers, and hot dogs. Make fun of lunch.
Launched in 1988 by Oscar Mayer, Lunchables revolutionized how kids and adults approached lunchtime. These prepackaged meals came with an assortment of crackers, deli meats, cheeses, and sometimes even a small treat, like candy or a drink. They were designed to be convenient and fun for children, allowing them to build their own mini sandwiches during lunchtime. Lunchables were a response to the growing need for easy-to-prepare meals that busy parents could quickly toss into a lunchbox. The combination of convenience and customizability made them an instant hit, especially among school-aged children. Over the years, the brand expanded its offerings to include pizza kits, nachos, and other snackable options, but it was the original cracker, cheese, and meat combination that dominated the late 80s. Next is another frozen snack that offered an easy, delicious way to enjoy a fan-favorite food, 21 Pizza Rolls.
Kids can't resist their delicious pizza flavor. Totino's Pizza Rolls.
Pizza rolls may have technically been invented in the 60s by Geno Paolucci, but it wasn't until the 80s that they became a staple in American households. These bite-sized, frozen snacks featured a crispy outer shell filled with gooey, cheesy pizza goodness, pepperoni, sausage, or plain cheese. During the 80s, pizza rolls surged in popularity as microwaves became more common, making the preparation of these frozen rolls quicker and more convenient than ever before. The appeal of pizza rolls lay in their versatility. They could be served as an after-school snack, a party appetizer, or a quick, easy dinner. The rise of processed and convenience foods during the 80s ensured pizza rolls found a permanent spot in many freezers. Though they've undergone various changes and rebranding since then, pizza rolls remain a nostalgic favorite that reminds many of 80s snack culture. We now move on to a fiery favorite that defined bar food and continues to be a hit till today, 22 Buffalo wings. Though buffalo wings were first created in 1964 at the Anchor Bar in Buffalo, New York, it was during the 80s that they truly gained nationwide popularity. Spicy, tangy, and served with celery sticks and blue cheese dressing, buffalo wings became a go-to appetizer in bars and restaurants across America, fueled by the rise of sports bar culture and the popularity of finger foods during game days. The story goes that Teresa Bellissimo invented buffalo wings when she fried up some leftover chicken wings and tossed them in hot sauce, serving them as a late-night snack for her son and his friend. By the 80s, buffalo wings were no longer a local delicacy but a national phenomenon, thanks to the spicy food trend and the growing love for casual dining. The combination of heat and flavor made buffalo wings a fan favorite, and they remain a beloved appetizer to this day. Next up is a rich, buttery dish that defined classic comfort food from the 80s, 23 Chicken Kiev.
Bloody-o.
Ingham's makes any mum a great mum. Love 'em.
Chicken Kiev was an elegant and indulgent dish that enjoyed a resurgence of popularity in the 80s. The dish, which originated in Eastern Europe, featured a chicken breast that was pounded flat, stuffed with garlic butter, and then breaded and fried. When sliced open, the melted butter would pour out, creating a rich, flavorful experience that delighted diners. Though Chicken Kiev had been around for many years, it became a favorite on restaurant menus and in home kitchens throughout the 80s. The dish was seen as both sophisticated and indulgent, making it a popular choice for dinner parties and special occasions. Its combination of crispy breading and rich, buttery filling made it a timeless classic that many still remember fondly. Our next item is a savory meat extract, often made into a drink that warmed many a cold day. 24 Bovril.
Whatever the city, you'll hear my voice. Instant Bovril, a natural choice.
Bovril, a thick, savory meat extract, was a staple in many households throughout the 80s. Though the product originated in the 19th century, it experienced a resurgence in popularity during the 80s, especially in Europe and the UK. Bovril was often enjoyed as a hot drink, with a spoonful of the extract stirred into hot water, creating a broth-like beverage that was both comforting and flavorful. Bovril's rich umami flavor made it a popular choice for adding depth to soups, stews, and casseroles. It was also a favorite among sports fans, particularly in Britain, where it was sold in stadiums as a warming drink during chilly football matches. While its popularity has somewhat reduced in recent years, Bovril remains an iconic brand, remembered for its distinctive taste and versatility in the kitchen. As we close out our journey through 80s classics, we end on a fruity note with a snack that captured the sweetness of the decade: 25 Fruit Wrinkles. Fruit Wrinkles were an iconic fruit snack that captured the attention of kids everywhere during the 80s. Introduced by Betty Crocker, these small, chewy pieces of fruit-flavored goodness were shaped like miniature raisins, but came in an array of vibrant colors and flavors. They were marketed as a fun, portable treat that kids could enjoy in their lunchboxes or as an after-school snack. Fruit Wrinkles were part of the larger fruit snack boom that included popular products like fruit roll-ups and gushers, but they had their own unique appeal. The small, bite-sized pieces made them easy to eat, and their bright, bold flavors kept kids coming back for more. Though they eventually disappeared from store shelves in the early 90s, Fruit Wrinkles remain a fond memory for those who grew up snacking on these fruity, chewy treats. And that's all for this video. Which classic foods from the list do you remember from your childhood? Which ones do you think we should have talked about? Tell us in the comments. And don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe, and hit the notification bell for more nostalgic food journeys. Until next time.